They pulled chunks of flesh from the mummy, then
Gross,
crushed
what
it
the-
into a powder. Next, they added tree sap to create a smooth brown cream.
That's
The
disgusting.
result-
Wait, is this the thing? Okay. So back in the day, people used to have mummy unwrapping parties. Fun fact. Pretty horrible.
Paint called Mummy Brown, and painters used it for flesh tones, and it became incredibly popular.
Did they
but
know?
when the paint makers ran out of mummies, their supply ran low and lost popularity, and eventually they stopped producing the paint. When artists discovered what it was made out of, they were horrified. One
Okay, they
famous
didn't
painter
know.
even buried his tube in the garden, out of respect for the dead, according to the legend.
That is actually disgusting. I can't believe that's actually a thing that people did. What's going on, guys? Today, we're reacting to Zach D Films. Let's just keep on going.
If you sliced open a giant cockroach,
Gross.
squeezed inside, and sealed yourself in,
Why would I
could
slice
you
open a giant
survive
cockroach?
deadly nuclear fallout?
All right,
Well, when
no.
a nuke explodes, the radiation travels through the air. But as it passes through different materials, it loses concentration, meaning
Makes
it
sense.
will eventually run out. Now, cockroaches are mostly made of water, which would quickly block the radiation. And it would only have to be about the size of a minivan to
Only?
protect you.
Thank
But
God.
the heat from the explosion would still boil the cockroach's blood, roasting you right inside its body.
That is disgusting. Why are we slicing open giant cockroaches? What? How does Zach D Films even come up with these scenarios? I guess it's kind of the myth, right?
They would paint white strips onto the ground, adding darker blocks below it and to the sides. And from the top, it would just look like a weird pattern. But from an approaching car's perspective, it looked like real floating blocks. You see, a lot of cars ignore the crosswalk signs and
True.
don't slow down,
That is
which can
true.
lead to dangerous accidents. So cities
The sound
around the
effect on
world
it.
have started painting these illusions, forcing drivers to slam their brakes and think twice before they speed.
I don't believe any crosswalk around the world is doing this. First of all, I've never seen this. Okay, maybe it exists. Second, this isn't gonna stop anybody. I feel like every time I cross the street or try to cross the street, nobody stops. Nobody stops unless you're in a downtown area or unless a cop is present. I think people are gonna blast right through these. It may stop people for a day, maybe one day, but they're gonna know. If they're locals, they're not gonna stop after a day.
The taser is fired. Two darts shoot towards you, with copper wires connecting them to the gun. And when the darts pierce your skin, it creates a circuit. This causes a battery inside the taser to send electricity through the wires. And when
Okay.
it reaches you, the shock makes your muscles contract uncontrollably, which paralyzes you until the taser is turned off. But if police spray you with tear gas first, it can
No.
stick to your clothes. And if they use a taser on you, the electric charge could ignite the gas, causing you to burst into flames.
That is actually crazy. What the? I'm actually speechless. I feel like this probably happened before, right? There's probably been a scenario somewhere around the world where this has happened. It's like, well, I just lit the guy on fire. Just deployed my taser and he exploded. Why am I laughing? It's not funny.
He thought taking a bath would make him sick, so for over 60 years, he refused to wash.
That's what I'm
saying
talking
the
about.
dirt kept him healthy. Instead, he left his home and dug a shallow hole to sleep in. He ate only roadkill and smoked animal poop out of a pipe.
This is disgusting. Okay, this guy. Honestly, you know what? This guy hasn't figured it out. This guy's got to figure it out. Okay.
Instead of cutting his hair, he burned it over a fire. Over the years, he became the dirtiest man in the world, until someone finally convinced him to take a bath, and he died shortly after.
So what? They kidnapped this guy. They bathed him and then he died? What is that? What did he die of though? I wish there's more to this because I want to know how this guy died. I could look it up right now on google.com, but I won't. If you know what it is, please leave it down in the comments below. Also, like and subscribe while you're there.
The fire was lit beneath a sealed cauldron, boiling the water inside. And this caused steam to build, which pushed hard against the walls. It traveled up through pipes on the sides and into a metal sphere.
Was it gonna
and
start
released
spinning?
out through
Oh,
two
yeah.
curved pipes sticking out in opposite directions
One of those-
of the sphere,
those early
forcing it to
engines.
spin in circles as the steam was released. Now, this was used in Rome just as a trick to impress crowds, centuries before anyone realized it could actually power machines.
It's kind of funny how like that was like for art. They had the invention of the engine, the steam engine, right in front of them, and it came to nobody's brain. Nobody's brain was like, hey, you know what? We could put this thing to work.
As he chatted with the stranger, two people carrying a door walked between them, blocking his view. The stranger quickly swapped places with someone else.
Where
The
is
new
this
person
happening?
picked up the conversation as if nothing changed, and the man didn't even notice. And 7 out of 15 people never realized they were talking to a completely different person. In another test, people watched someone
doing these
leave
tests?
money on a table and walk out. Then another person came in, stole the money, and left. But as she turned a corner, a different woman took her place. Barely anyone noticed it was a different person, and about 25% of them identified the wrong woman in a lineup, proving just how unreliable our memories can be.
If anyone thinks they're gonna remember that, they're a liar, or they just don't know how the brain works. Personally, my memory's terrible, so if I ever came across any of this, I would not remember who the person was. I would be stumped.
As he drove, the car's AI scanned his face and flashed red, warning him to wake up.
Wake up!
He was confused
Wake
because he
up!
wasn't sleeping and tried sitting up straighter to look less tired. But nothing worked until he forced his eyes to open super wide. When he let them go back to normal, the alarm rang again, going off 20 times during the trip. You see, the AI was designed to beep whenever it couldn't see the iris. But the man naturally had heavy eye folds, which are when the eyelid's skin and fat overlap near the nose, forming a smooth flap that covers part of his iris, making the AI think he was sleeping.
That really sucks. I feel like they could have trained the AI a little bit better for that. That's kind of a weird situation. It'd actually be interesting too if they had the AI like dynamically trained.
They designed this fire truck to have 2 heads, one in the
Okay.
front and one in the back. You see, years earlier, a big rig caught fire in the middle of a 7-mile-long tunnel.
Oh my
This
God.
quickly caused a traffic jam, blocking fire trucks from entering, and the blaze lasted over 2 days.
2 days?
Killing 39 people and injuring 11 others.
Whoa. Dude, there must have been so much smoke in there. That whole 7-mile tunnel must have been filled with smoke. There were that many deaths. That's crazy.
The 2-headed fire truck was invented. 2 drivers control it from either cabin, allowing it to drive in either direction without reversing. It can even crab walk through traffic, meaning it can enter tight spaces and put out fires before it's too late. They designed
Okay.
this
That's pretty interesting, I guess. I think that's kind of a cool idea, but another rare scenario.
He loaded each of the 24 barrels, added a trail of gunpowder, and aimed it out of the window, waiting to assassinate the king as he passed
What the?
below. He then
That's so
lit
many
the
guns.
gunpowder, which fired all the guns at once. The
Let me guess, they're all gonna miss. I guarantee not a single one of these bullets hit, because this is an older barrel, an older bullet being fired out of this thing. None of these things are gonna hit. And if they do, they're not gonna be lethal. Guarantee it. Let's watch.
force blew apart the guns and tore the man's face and hands as the bullets rained down on the villagers, even hitting the king's horse in the neck. But the king was barely scratched on
Alright, I
his
was wrong.
forehead, and the man was soon captured for his crime.
Makes
He
sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. This was completely foolish. I don't even...
If you slide your cup side to side fast, you can catch just the syrup, making your drink taste super sweet.
I didn't know that,
See, when
actually.
you push the button, gas pressure turns on behind the wall, and a pump sucks syrup from a sealed bag inside a cardboard box,
Okay.
causing it to slowly move through a plastic tube toward the nozzle. At the same time, cold water flows into a metal tank, and
Makes
carbon
sense.
dioxide is forced in under pressure, trapping tiny bubbles inside the water. Then, in separate tubes, the syrup and carbonated water flow into the nozzle. Inside, the fizzy water
That's how it
sprays
works,
through
huh?
tiny holes, spreading into a mist, and the syrup shoots into that mist as they leave the nozzle.
Is that
but if
really-
you time it just right, you can skip most of the water and catch the syrup before it blends in.
I don't believe that. I actually don't believe that. I think if you're to do that, you would just be making a mess. You'd get soda everywhere. It's fun to think about. And you know what? Maybe it is true. Maybe it is true. Maybe I'm,
Murder someone and then confess the murder to a priest, they cannot tell anyone, ever. You see,
Good.
It's called the seal of confession, and breaking it will get you kicked out of the church forever. But what if you confess that you're about to kill the priest's own mother? Well, the priest still has to stay silent. He can't warn her, can't call the police. He can't even sit outside her house to protect her, because any action could reveal what he heard. But what if a priest does break the seal of confession and then confesses that to another priest? Well, that second priest also can't tell anyone, because now that confession is sealed too.
Dude, that's crazy. That's actually insane. I did not realize that. Next time I commit murder,
I have to tell the priests.
I'm just kidding. I've never murdered anyone and never will. So
How fast would an unbreakable merry-go-round need to spin to liquefy your brain?
Oh my
Well,
God,
a normal
what?
person can push one at around 9 miles per hour.
Pretty fast.
Enough to make you dizzy,
It's actually
but not
faster than I
deadly.
thought.
To reach deadly speeds, you would need to attach a jet engine to the side. You would then have to strap yourself in to keep from flying off. It would spin fast enough to generate over 50,000 G's of force. That's enough to rupture blood vessels and snap bones. Your brain would slam into the side of your skull over and over until the tissue
This is
tears
disgusting.
apart from the inside and eventually becomes fully liquefied.
Ew. Ew. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Dude, Zach D Films, man. This channel is actually like disgusting. Some of these videos are so gross.
The bones are carefully removed from the chicken, which is then seasoned and stacked on a duck. Then the duck is rolled up and placed on top of the turkey, and any extra spaces are filled with stuffing. It's roasted for several hours at a low temperature to cook evenly. And as it heats up, the fat melts and the flavors combine.
Okay.
Finally, the turducken is carved, revealing the layers of meat inside. The
That could be pretty yummy. I feel like cutting meat, I don't eat red meat, so to me, like a lot of meaty things like that. But you know what? That could be tasty. That could be tasty. What do you call this? A turfucken?
He got in, and the barrel fell from 180 feet as the crowd watched. You see, the year before, he had performed a similar stunt over Niagara Falls and survived.
Pretty
So he
scary
set
idea.
up a pool inside a massive stadium, fully convinced he could cheat death again. But as he landed, the barrel hit the side of the pool, and the impact crushed his chest, belly, and fractured his skull.
Oh, no.
Assistants had to cut him out before medics could reach him, but his injuries were too severe, and he died later that night.
Damn, dude, dumb people are wild. Also, that seems like a crazy miscalculation, but it makes sense. He should have used a bigger pool. R.I.P. though, R.I.P. R.I.P. to this man.
When you crack your knuckle, the space in between the joint stretches, and this drops the pressure, forming gas bubbles that suddenly pop and make that satisfying crack sound. But the bubbles take about 30 minutes to come back, which
30
is why
minutes.
it's impossible to crack the same knuckle twice in a row. And if you use too much force, you might just press
Don't.
on the wrong
Oh.
spot and dislocate your finger.
This again, we got these nasty videos. We got these nasty ones. Don't give us these nasty ones.
His stomach grew into a potbelly over time, so he exercised regularly and didn't drink beer to try and get rid of it. But even after losing 34 pounds, it was still there. Doctors told him it was nothing, but he demanded a full-body scan, and they found a 30-pound tumor wrapped around his kidney. It took
Whoa.
6 hours of surgery to remove it, along with the kidney, but he fully recovered.
That is actually crazy. I can't even imagine, dude. Some of these videos are so gripping, man.
If you only had one battery left and needed to turn on a flashlight, you could tear off a strip of foil, fold it until it's the same size
that's
as
good
the
to know.
battery, and roll it with your fingers until it's round. Then place the working battery at the positive end of the flashlight with the foil roll at the negative end. You see, electricity needs to have a continuous path in order to work. So when you close the battery completely, compartment and press the switch, the foil completes the circuit, letting the electricity flow from the battery to the light bulb and turning your flashlight back on.
Hey, you know, that's pretty good to know. If I'm in a survival situation where I gotta do such a thing, now the stretch is taking me over. Oh my god, that was crazy. Big stretch. All right, guys, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this react video. And to make sure to like and subscribe. That's it. That's it. See you guys in the next one.